Hi, I'm Stefan, the BMW DIY guy, and I want to give you a walk around on the brand new 2022 BMW 440 Grand Coupe. All right, y'all, I'm really excited to give you a walk around on this car, this brand new 2022 440 Grand Coupe. And I will admit, when the 4 Series Grand Coupes came out, I was a little confused. You know, I've had a lot of 3 Series over the years, and when BMW broke out the 4 Series, to me, that just broke out. To me, that meant 2-door coupe. The 3 Series were the 4 doors, and the 4 Series were the 2-door coupes. So when the Grand Coupe came out, so you have that coupe design, but a 4-door, I initially was really surprised by it. But if you really like kind of that more of that rake design in along the roof line of the coupe, plus a hatchback that you get out of the Grand Coupe, this is definitely the answer for you. So I want to give you a walk around all through the outside. Let's take a look at some of those options, then we'll take a look at the interior and take it for a test drive. All right, so let's start with the power plant first. Of course, this is what is becoming the de facto BMW motor in this generation. This is the B58. That is such a fantastic motor. This is 382 horsepower in this particular edition, and this is the M440 xDrive. So, and let's pull the cover off here for a second, take a look at a little bit of the complexities underneath here. And as you can see, they pack a lot of motor into this space. You can see some of the design elements where before you, for example, you would have cross strut bracing across from the shock towers. Now you've got it straight down through the frame, which you can see securing it here to the front. So it's really kind of hard to show off some of the suspension and some of the greater details of the motor, but this is a good look at what it looks like underneath all of the plastics. And the B58 motor, if you don't know, really is a fantastic motor. This is the same motor you're going to see in a 4-door Grand Coupe like this. You're going to see in the new M240 xDrive, so that two-door sports coupe all the way through even the Supra. The brand new Toyota Supra has the BMW B58 in it. So really, this motor is becoming the de facto motor you see throughout BMW and even others, and it does such a great job and has so much headroom and potential as well for power. So it doesn't really surprise me that when we take this out for a drive, it's going to drive really well. But it's good to take a look at this. All right, let's look around the outside and the suspension and wheels. All right, so as we look at this specific model, and there are so many options that you can get on this new 4 Series that it's going to be really kind of impossible to go through them all. So I can show you what we have on this particular car. This does have the BMW LED headlights, as you can see. And these really are fantastic. You should come and check these out. They work incredibly well. And once you have LED headlights, you'll wonder how you lived without them. Obviously, with the front styling, we have this significant change here in the new 4 Series and the new enlarged kidney grills. And I find that the design language is really working for me, as you can see, as it ties into the rest of the vents here on this 440. So as we work our way around, you can see we've got 18-inch wheels and the blue M Sport brakes, and these are 245/45 R18 tires, and they're Pirellis on this particular model all the way around. Now, what you can also see, and what is becoming a common design element with the mirrors, and you're going to see those same mirrors on the M240, on this 4 Series, on the 3 Series, all the way through even some of the M cars. So it is very, very familiar. So as well, you can also see the blue brakes here in the back. Now, and you have your option of blue or red, depending on how you outfit the car. So we work our way around. This particular car actually has the rear spoiler as an option as well. And you can see the interesting design language that's very similar in the taillights as you look through. Now, for example, in the new M240, the brakes actually come from the top and swoop down. You can see in this case they're swooping down and swooping under and around. So similar design language throughout, but very distinct and different for each individual model. Now, as well with the exhaust, you can see this has this trapezoidal exhaust that has just a little bit of a hint with that inner notch of it looking almost like a quad exhaust with the black rear diffuser. But it looks really good, and also the rear tailgate as well, which I'll show you that in a moment. But we work our way around, and you know, something that I find it really interesting with these new models is the throwback handles. We can actually see the handles are no longer the loops, they're the lift handles. And as somebody who's owned an E30, E36, E46 with the lift handles, it's kind of a design throwback that you can see throughout. And I see it kind of as a cool nod to previous generations. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at some of the options and the interior. All right, one advantage of it not being quite so sunny today, you can actually see the LED lights throughout the doors. You can see it has that kind of bright cobalt blue set up right now, which I really, really like. We'll go ahead and get in here. You can see the leather interior. This is that black Sensatrack interior. So look through the familiar, the full digital cockpit, both gauges and full display. And, you know, a lot of this is very familiar, but at the same time, if you haven't seen this before, you can see some of these options as we move through the car. So we've got our very familiar controls here as you go through Sport, Comfort, and Eco Pro. Also, with the 440s, you can get the adaptive suspension, and if you do, you'd have an adaptive button right here as well. So lots of different options here throughout, and, you know, how this particular car is outfitted. This is that 8-speed automatic that it really shifts incredibly well. And if you go into the custom settings, you can actually select Sport Plus, which I'll show in just a moment. Really familiar iDrive control, so I won't spend too much time there. But very familiar, works very well, and is an excellent layout to be able to drive and use these controls even while you're driving and moving without taking your eyes away from the road. Now, this car also includes the heads-up display, which is really nice. So again, that familiar lighting as you move through the dash, your radio controls and your vent controls, which, you know, moving from the F series, this used to be reversed. Your radio controls were on top and your vent was underneath. And again, our very familiar display. Now, if you see any flickering, that is purely my camera, so that's not the display at all. But just for example, the amount of configuration and the amount of changes that you can do here really is impressive as you go through all of your different profiles. So, for example, you have your Sport, Comfort, and Eco Pro modes, but if you actually go into individual, and you can actually select Sport Plus, both in engine and transmission. It's going to shift a little bit more aggressively. It's going to shift up a little bit more. You're going to get the most responsiveness out of your accelerator pedal and the like. And I'll show that off a little bit as we take the car for a drive here in just a minute. But very familiar iDrive 7. It's really an excellent layout, and you can see how this display blends into your center console. Now, let me go ahead and shut the door here really quickly so we can get that display off the center. But it will display exactly your right car and color in the center. And as you go through navigation, which I really love, and let me get the car started, I really, really like this new display. Now, initially, this layout to me was a little odd, you know, coming from analog clusters or even the digital display I had in my F32, that it was very strange coming to this new layout. But it's really grown on me, and they're using the real estate much more effectively than they used to. So now with your speedometer up one side and tachometer around the other, you have all of your navigation and other information here in the center. Now, in addition to that, as you go through your modes, for example, we go to comfort mode, you can see the display changes. We go to Eco Pro, it changes again to all of the relevant information in the different modes that you're going through. Now, there are so many features and functions to your iDrive setup, and depending on what options you get in the car as well. I won't have time to take you through every single option, but I really do love how customizable it is, and this display really supports how you want to drive. So as we also look at the steering wheel, we see this excellent design, this very familiar design with the G series, including in this case the heated steering wheel as well. You've got a good grip. The width of the steering wheel is excellent. And, you know, previously that was one of my criticisms, that where the M cars had really good steering wheels, the standard cars felt a little lacking to me. I feel like BMW's really addressed that, and even the standard steering wheels are very, very nice. Good thick grip with good thumb hooks, which is what these bumps are called here on the steering wheel on both sides. So I really like it. All right, so let's go ahead and check out the back seat a little bit. We'll show that off, some of the options we've got back there, and then let's take it out for a drive. One cool safety feature I wanted to point out here, because the car's actually running, and if you notice, since the door is open and the car is running, it's actually the headlight trim on the door is now pulsing red. Help people see that you actually have the door open. So, all right, so as we look at this here really quickly, you can see again those distinct differences between a 3 Series and a 4 Series. Obviously the 4 has got this much more swept or raked roofline that drops down, and a much shorter kind of tail end where you'd have a trunk that would extend out on the 3 Series, and in this case you've got the lift tailgate. So it actually makes transporting things a little bit easier on this car depending on what you want to put in the back. But much more of a swept roofline. All right, so go ahead and getting in here. We'll get in. All right, so good comfortable seats. I'm about 6'1", and can sit comfortably here in the back. You've you guys see, you've got options for even including heated seats here in the back if you would like, depending on how your car is outfitted, power ports, and all the usual things that you would expect here in the back, even including lighting underneath the seats, which I really like. Again, those blue highlights throughout, you can see in the door bay as well as down the door accents themselves. So all in all, I really like it. I think this is going to do really well. If you want to have something a little bit distinct from a sedan, you can actually have this Grand Coupe style. But let's go ahead and take it out, see what it's like to drive it. Also, I'm excited to take this out and try out this Grand Coupe. So this is really a first experience for me driving this specific model of 4 Series. So I'm excited to see what this is like in this 2022, and this is the brand new second generation of this 4 Series, and get a sense of what it's like to drive with just a little bit bigger of the 4 Series themselves. So I want to take you out on kind of my favorite loop here and show you what that looks like, and what it would be a sense to take this out for a test drive yourself. Impressions here. You know, the interesting thing is also the visibility out of the back with the kind of scalloped glass with that 5th door, that lift gate on the back, definitely affects your visibility a little bit. I think visibility out the back isn't bad. It's just a different shape, where the new rear view mirror in this generation is really good, and in this case the mirror is bigger than your back glass. Seems to get up and go pretty well. If you can see, as I came out there, I had a little bit of oncoming traffic, so had to get on it a little bit so I could get out, and it really picked up and drove really well. I would expect it to. Everything is still in comfort mode right now as we go through all of our different settings. I want to get a sense of what each mode feels like in this car and share that kind of as we go. So I want to go out and take a loop. We're going to go out and get a little bit of a view of Seattle, take you across the bridge, maybe a little bit of view of the water, and kind of share what this car is like if you took it for a test drive. Let's see what sport feels like once we get up and get moving here. And this motor, I would expect it to be good. The traffic is probably not going to play along, but let's see. Yeah, so coming out of comfort mode to sport is really good. That accelerated well, very smoothly. And it's an overall very, very quiet car, which I would also expect in this particular car. So let me take you across the bridge, give you a little bit more of the view. You know, it's dark here just for a few minutes. I really do love the new lighting through the cabin. You know, down through the center console, down across the, your dash, and down through the doors. It's currently set to that really bright cobalt blue. Looks really good. You know, when the automatic headlights came on as we went through the tunnel. And, you've got, a half a dozen different color choices there. But I really do like it. I like it enough, I kind of wish I could retrofit it into my car. But I really do like that customization that you can have there. So as we come across the bridge, I'm in sport mode right now. This does not have the adaptive suspension, and the other thing I did is I also put it up into individual, so I can actually have both the engine and this 8-speed Steptronic transmission in Sport Plus as well. So it's set up as high as it's going to go for steering in Sport, engine and transmission both in Sport Plus. So one of my biggest gauges as we come across the bridge here is kind of how this feels across the surface of the bridge deck. So we've got this great view out over the water here in Lake Washington, if you're not familiar with the Seattle area. But it's also a great way of kind of gauging how this handles and feels in traffic. Suspension's really tight right now, feels good. And the bumps, it really seems to absorb the bumps pretty well. And this is that stock. Now, this isn't the M Performance or adjustable or adaptable suspension. It really seems to be doing a good job. So it's definitely going to be a comfortable ride. The one thing I do love in the Sport Plus mode, especially in the transmission, is that it definitely shifts a little more aggressively. So you have those kind of power shifts a little bit, where you'll get a little bit of an over rev and give you a little bit of a more aggressive sort of sound. So let's take again a little bit of a loop, kind of show you some of the prettier areas here, and see what it's like to take it through a little bit more of a windy road. What I really like about this route is that it's about as close as you can get to a country road equivalent within a close distance of a test drive of a car from a dealership in Seattle. A lot of changes. You know, the road rolls quite a bit, lots of twists and turns, and it's really pretty too to top it off. So it really is a nice way to get a sense of how this car is going to handle, and it really does well. I mean, there's lots of bumps and drains and things, so you can test out the suspension, and it's very comfortable. Holds the lane very well. This is not an overly wide road, so you get a sense of how it's going to be on a little bit more narrow roads, and it really is quite comfortable. All in all, I like this. I think this drives very easily, which I would expect from this model, but you never know as they change it, especially when you have, you know, the Grand Coupe with it's a little bit longer, an extra set of doors, and you're going to see how it's going to feel as you twist and turn through roads like this. So if you're not familiar with Seattle, we actually are on the east side of Mercer Island right now. And you know, one of the things I really like about this road for a test drive is while it's really low speed, it's either 25 or 30 or 35 through most of it, especially this east side. You have these long, sweeping, pretty narrow roads, as you can see, long sweeping turns. It gives you an excellent sense of the handling of the car, as we do, I mean, almost 180-degree turn there. And we've got another full 180-degree turn coming up here shortly. So as you go through this, it really gives you a sense of taking a car out of what it's going to feel like. I mean, just like lane keeping. How well are you staying in the lane in a car if you're taking for a test drive? And if you can do it right when you take it out, you're going to be able to do it normally, right? Like, take a look at this long sweeping turn all the way through. Feels really good and smooth throughout. The turn in is really nice and crisp, and this is in comfort mode, so steering is not even in sport where it's at its most sensitive. So this really is an excellent way to really get a sense of what this is like, rather than just going fast in a straight line, right? But really impressive as you go through that whole series of switchbacks again and again and again, and you get a sense of how well you can keep the lane and the size of the car, and no problems whatsoever throughout all of that. So I'm impressed. This is an excellent handling car all in all, which doesn't surprise me, but at the same time, I haven't driven a Grand Coupe before. So really, really nice. Really kind of my favorite on-ramp. It's a great way to just have a quick straight line acceleration to feel what it's like to get back down into traffic, because I'm a big believer in, you know, when you get onto a freeway, you should be doing freeway speed. So we'll drift back here a little bit. I'm currently in Sport Plus mode throughout on the car. We're at controlled off-ramp today. Well, that's a bummer, but we'll come down here to the bottom and we'll accelerate out into traffic here and see what this feels like. Let's slow down here for a second, and here we go. Yeah, that did really well, but again, not surprising. I mean, really not surprising. I mean, this is the B58 motor, which is really so good. I mean, it's probably the best non-M motor that BMW has put out ever. I mean, and that's why you see it in so many models, and it really is good. A little bit quiet as you would expect in this car. A little bit quieter. I mean, this is a little bit less aggressive, though the M440 definitely brings in some of those sportier elements. And you know, coming at it in Sport Plus mode, so it's going to shift more aggressively, it's going to accelerate more aggressively. But that was quick. A little bit bummer. It was a controlled on-ramp today, which you don't see all that often, but that was really, really good. All right, so let's go ahead and take you back across the lake as we head back towards the dealership, and a little bit more of driving this car. All right, y'all, so back here at the dealership, and no test drive is ever long enough, right? But I wanted to give you a sense of what it would be like to go out and drive this, kind of, you know, the sights and sounds of it all. And I even took a little bit of a different route today because I wanted to get a sense of how this car would handle. I mean, just about anything will go straight line and maybe even straight line very fast. But there are some great twisty roads on where we went today, and I'm impressed on how well this car handles the turn in through some of those switchbacks, which are 180-degree switchbacks again and again and again. Did really well. Stayed in my lane very well for a car that I just drove. Handled well, felt good throughout the whole thing, and felt in control the entire time. So, you know, a 4-door 4 Series, the Grand Coupe. Now, as far as performance, I'm not surprised in the slightest. The B58 motor is such a great motor here in this M440, so that doesn't surprise me at all. So this could be an excellent solution if you're looking for a 4 Series and that coupe style, but I'll be the first one to say, you know, putting kids in and out of the back or passengers in and out of your 2-door coupe, and if you like your car, really can be a drag as they, you know, they kick your seats and have other issues, right? This could be a great solution so you could have that coupe style, but 4 doors, so you can put people in the back a lot more easily. So hey, thank you so much to BMW Seattle for giving me this opportunity. I really appreciate it. I always drive these cars really respectfully because I know that this is a test drive, and so it's not even broken in yet. And you know, I want to be able to show you what it would be like, but you know, we don't get the track experience, which I wish we did. So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Thank you to BMW Seattle for giving me this opportunity. It's really fantastic. I encourage you to come down and try it yourself. See what this car feels like when you drive it. Go find a good road, just like I did, to go see how it feels as you take the bumps and twists and turns. Thank you so much for watching. Please click subscribe and the little alarm bell. It makes a huge difference to my channel. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you on my next video.